We recently got some really exciting news from the CPUC regarding adding additional panels under the NEM 3 rules. And I explain everything you need to know about how to do that and if your home is a good fit for it. Traditionally, under NEM 2, if you added more panels, it was no problem. You just add some more panels, you're still under NEM 2, there's no problem. Your usage went up, let's add some more panels. But now that we're under this NEM 3 rule, if we add more panels, we are kicked off of that NEM 2 program. So we don't get those credits. We have to add additional batteries. We have to have more panels than we ever wanted to offset our electric bill and make sure that we're not getting an electric bill and getting the savings that we're hoping for. That recently changed when the CPUC approved a non-export program. What that allows us to do is allows us to configure a new system as a non-export system. That non-export system never exports power onto the grid and is just a closed loop on your home. Powers your home, it charges a battery, and that battery powers your home. And in a loop like that, it never sends power back to the grid. The reason why it was approved is because Edison and these other utility companies are really concerned about how much power is sent back to the grid. They're less concerned about how much power you're producing. That doesn't matter to them. They're worried about having that power sent back to the grid, having an overwhelming amount of power, and not being able to use that power or allocate it properly, and then having debts because they're having to credit everybody for that extra power. Well, with this NEM 3 non-export program, we can now add panels and a battery without taking your current system off of NEM 2. This is actually the website from Enphase. Enphase is one of the companies that lobbied for this. These are showing some of the configurations that we can have and that we can do to allow this program to work. And then this is the Edison website showing this non-export program and showing the application for this non-export program. Say you have a big true-up bill. You can add 30 panels and multiple batteries for those panels, and it's totally fine. Those are non-export, not going to affect your current NEM 2 30 panels, and you're totally fine to operate those panels and have now a total system that runs all the electricity usage that you have in your home. But let me give you a little bit more realistic example. So for example, maybe you have 20 panels on your house right now, and in the beginning that was designed correctly, but now you have a EV, you have a pool, you have a hot tub, you have an electric heater, you have an electric hot water heater, you have electric stove, all these different things that could increase your electric bill. Under NEM 3, it just didn't make sense. Maybe your electric bill, maybe your true-up bill is maybe $1,500 or $2,000. Didn't make sense to add a whole other solar system and a battery system for your old system, since you'd be kicked off NEM 2, and you'd have to have that battery system for the old system as well. Now with this new program, you can add, say, 8 more panels and 1 small battery, and that's totally fine. That gives you enough power to compensate for your spa or compensate for whatever else it is, and you're good to go. So now on the smallest end, you could even just add 8 panels and a small battery. Now it gives you that extra power so that you don't have that $1,000 true-up bill. Maybe that cost for that yearly with financing is maybe $500 or $600. So you're saving $400 a year by adding those additional panels and battery. In the past, in order to add on to your existing system, you would have to have at least a $2,500 true-up bill to make it worth adding the panels, adding the batteries. Now with this non-export program, you can add more panels and a battery with a true-up as low as $800, just because of how much more affordable it is to add that level of infrastructure instead of this whole massive infrastructure that we need for NEM 3. It allows us to have a lot more options when adding more panels. And the biggest thing here is staying on that NEM 2 program for your existing system. We're going to show you some diagrams of why that's so important and why staying on NEM 2 helps so much. So if any company is trying to say, hey, go with this battery, go with this program, it's okay, we'll switch off NEM 2, it'll be no problem, we'll add enough batteries or whatever. Don't do it. NEM 2 is so valuable, and I'll show you a couple of reasons why. So let me show you some examples of how this would work. So let's say we have this house. It's currently producing 8,000 kilowatts with these panels. These panels on the roof here are producing 8,000 kilowatts, and they're currently using an extra 6,000 kilowatts. So they want to add enough panels to produce an extra maybe 7,000 kilowatts to give them a little bit extra. And luckily, we have a lot of space here to do it. So let me show you why it's so different. So let me show you why it's so much better to be adding panels with this non-export program. What we would have had to do if we were just going to add it under the old NEM 3, where we'd have to switch these original panels over to NEM 3 and what that would look like. So let's look at that. Let's add some panels here. Let's go to panels, modules. Let's go to these ones. We'll add some panels there. So we got great sunlight See how bright that roof is compared to the front of the house. So these are some of the darker areas in the house. And on the back of the house, we have a ton of sun. Should be no problem. So this solar system, these additional 15 panels, will be producing 9,900 kilowatt hours per year. So let's take some off. Okay, so this could work. We have 10 panels. They're producing 6,600 kilowatt hours. Maybe we add one more panel, just see how that puts us. So we got 11 panels producing 7,282 kilowatt hours, or 120%. That's a really good system, I think. It gives you a little bit extra power, and it's going to take care of you. Okay, so what we're going to look at here is why it's so important that we add this non-export system instead of switching the old system off of NEM 3. What we're going to see here, this yellow, all the yellow bars here are representing how much solar power is being produced. The orange bars are representing how much power is being actually used by the home. So in January, February, October, and December, we aren't producing enough power. See how our yellow bar is below the orange bar and the yellow bar is below the orange bar here? Well, that's why it's so important to keep our other system, because all this power within NEM 3 is being wasted. Since this homeowner uses less power during the winter, all this power during the summer isn't able to be stored and used over here. But our old system is able to store all this power in the winter and is able to use it here and here. We now don't have to have as big of a solar system. We also don't have to have as big of a battery system because we don't have to worry about overproducing for these 4 months where our solar system doesn't produce enough power. If we were to switch over to NEM 3, we would have to add double the battery capacity, and we would have to add even more solar panels, or you just have to be okay with having a big bill in January, February. November is going to be small, but then December is going to be big. So you just have to be okay with that if your usage lined up with this customer. To give you an idea of the battery pricing, this is our battery calculator. So if we just add the battery to the existing system, we would add 2 5P batteries. A 10 kilowatt battery capacity is a perfect size for a 4.5 kilowatt system. But you can see that this is $10,500 for this battery here, for 2 5P Enphase 5Ps. If we would have had to get the old system and take the old system off of NEM 2, we would really have to add 4 of these so that we could cover the whole system. Instead of just the new system, we'd have to cover the old system as well, and we would have to add more panels. I hope this gives you a good idea of why it's so important to stay on NEM 2 and what options you have if you do need to add on panels, and to make sure you're going through that non-export program. If you do have any questions about this or anything else, feel free to reach out. I've got my email in the description down below. I'd be happy to help.